Welcome to the first episode of Inside Sports with Rashad Mitchell. I'm your host, Rashad Mitchell, and I'm coming to you live from remote location from home. Inside Sports is on Elevation, new venture that I'm part of, Elevation 5280 Sports. I'm grateful to be part of this new venture, this new endeavor. Thanks to Michael Spilling for giving me the opportunity to do this, and I'm looking forward to being on this journey for a long time, as long as I can be. Um, I have a lot of experience in this area in terms of doing radio. So I currently have radio shows on another platform, the Rashad Mitchell Show on Gyroscope Radio, as well as Use of Wisdom on glorysongs.net. But this is a different platform that my show is going to be on. This is a different kind of show, Inside Sports with Rashad Mitchell. Is going to be a show that's deal with headlines, sports headlines, stuff that's going on in current sports, basically, and that's it. It's all about what's going on in the world of sports, what's going on in the world of sports in that general sense of just letting you know what's going on, giving my opinions on stuff that's going on in sports. As far as the content, I'll be giving you that, covering that from 9 to 10 o'clock. It's gonna be an hour show. Half an hour, it's not gonna be that long, but I'm gonna do my thing with that. So that's what it's all about, man. I'm just great to be part of this new venture, this new endeavor, Elevation 5280 Sports. It's going to be coming on every Thursday from 9 to 10 o'clock. So that's going to be on the docket. And look out for the articles that I'm going to be writing covering sports and things of that nature. So I'm just looking forward to this new venture, doing my thing on this platform. Let's get into it, man. Let's get into the women's college basketball. Ladies first. Obviously, the big storyline in sports is the Final Four. It's all set up in the men's and the women's. So we're going to start with the ladies. I'm going to recap what took place on Saturday, where Iowa beat Colorado 89-68 on the Sweet 16 matchup. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is the darling of this tournament, rightfully so. She had a 29-point double-double, 13 to 22 from the field. Did her thing. She's playing at a high level. She's definitely transcending the sport like no other in women's basketball. 29 points, 15 assists, 6 rebounds. She didn't shoot particularly well from the three-point line, but she was able to do well from the point perspective. Overall, 13 to 22 from the field, and they won 89-68. So that's the story on that. They had the number one seed, and USC beat Baylor 74-70. That was in the Sweet 16 matchup. Juju Watkins had 30 points as the USC Trojans beat Baylor 74-70. So 30 points. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well. Watkins, 8 of 28 from the field. She took 11 threes. Only made two 3-point shots. But she had 30 points, and as they won 74-70. That was the final score in that matchup. So let's continue on. UCLA beat UCLA lost to LSU. Number 2 versus number 3 seed. The LSU 3 seed beat the UCLA, the number 2 seed, 78-69. And LSU was able to get the job done. Obviously, their best player is Angel Reese, but Johnson was the catalyst in this game. She had 24 points in the backcourt. Vajay Johnson, she had 24 points, 12 rebounds. Angel Reese had 16 points and 11 rebounds. She's a junior, and she was able, their best player. And they was able to win by 9 points to advance to the regional final. And then you had UConn beat Duke 53-45. That was the final score in that matchup. The catalyst in this game was Buchers. Paige Buchers. She had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 9 of 21 from the field, and 2 for 6 from the three-point range. And she was able to do her thing as they advanced to the regional final. So that's it on the docket. So let's fast forward to Sunday. The Elite Eight in the Regional 1 in Albany. South Carolina beat Oregon State 70-58. NC State beat Texas. The number 1 seed lost to NC State 76-66. Is amazing because when you look at the NC State women's basketball team and the men's NC State basketball team, they are both in the Final Four. So rarely do you see something like that happening in college basketball where the women and the men are in the Final Four at the same time. So NC State, they was able to win the Elite Eight and advance to the Final Four. Isaiah James made 7 3-point shots with mismatched 3-point lines as they beat Texas and advanced to the Final Four. So that was the storyline that James, she had 27 points. Isaiah James had 27 points. She hit 7 threes, 7 of 9, great efficiency. And that's the thing about the college game with the women's, just not just the men and NBA, is that the 3-point shot is such a big emphasis on the 3-point shot. 3-point shooting is a big deal in all basketball. When you talk about 3-point shooting, it's a big deal in the women's game. You know, women take a lot of shots from 3-point range. That's the narrative. You know, when you talk about, I think it's the Steph Curry effect. When you talk about his influence, had to do his imprint on the game of basketball for shooting threes, for better or for worse, has definitely crossed over into the women's game, where women are taking threes. You know, all over the place. They're hitting, you know, their threes, but some are not going in, but they're attempting those 3-point shots. And I think that's the Steph Curry effect. You can make a case. Steph Curry has definitely made an impact on the women's game for his ability to shoot threes and attempt a lot of threes. I mean, that's where it is. So I think from that perspective, you see the effect of Steph Curry with women shooting threes from the 3-point range. So Texas was able to fall short as a number 1 seed, losing 76-66 to North Carolina State. Now, South Carolina is looking very good, looking great. They're undefeated, 36-0. They're in their Final Four, led by Dawn Staley, one of the best coaches in the game of college basketball for as women's are concerned. They're undefeated, looking very good. No surprise that they're in the Final Four again. That's what they're about. It's the second consecutive year that the Gamecocks have made it to the national semifinals, beg your pardon, undefeated. Well, unfortunately, South Carolina Gamecocks lost to Caitlin Clark and Iowa in the Final Four last year. So look like they're going to obviously try to make amends, obviously. And they've made to the Final Four in 4 straight years. They will play NC State tomorrow night in Cleveland. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. And 2 more wins by South Carolina will make the Gamecocks the 10th school to finish the season undefeated. It'll be the first since UConn did it back in 2016. So it's been 8 years since the team has gone undefeated. So they're 36-0 right now. And the catalyst for this matchup, as South Carolina won 70-58, the catalyst for South Carolina was you gotta go to the bench. You know, Johnson, 15 points coming off the bench. Tessa Johnson, true freshman, had 15 points. She was the leading scorer. It wasn't that many points scored in the starting lineup. I mean, the backcourt of Johnson and Pio had combined 8 points in the backcourt. Only 2 players was in double figures. For as points are concerned, 12 points for Cardoso and Hall. Well, the catalyst was the Johnson coming off the bench. So that was a difference maker in that matchup. So what else is new? This South Carolina Gamecocks team was in the Final Four again, trying to make it undefeated season and win another national championship. So kudos to the South Carolina Gamecocks. So you got that going on. So everything was set up with that. They were in the Final Four. So Monday, the first of the month of April, you had the anticipated matchup, man. It's been talked about all going into this week. After the game was over, you had number 1 Iowa, number 1 seed against number 3 LSU, the rematch of last year's national championship game. And they lived to the building. I actually had a chance to watch this game, and it was a great game. You know, the first half was great. Both teams was definitely going at it. You know, 45-45 was the score at halftime. And then all of a sudden, the second half, it was all about Iowa. Iowa took over. Caitlin Clark had 41 points, dominated the game, almost had a triple-double. She's definitely a transcendent superstar of the highest order and what she brings to the table. And she was the best player on the court by far. Almost had a triple-double, 41 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds. Almost had a triple-double. And she took 23-point shots. Made 9 of them. So that's a huge difference. 13 to 29 from the field. She's definitely a transcendent player. Martin chipped in with 21 points. Kate Martin, that's her name, in the backcourt. And 16 points for Falter. Uh, not that much off the bench. They took 31 threes, but most of those threes came from Clark. She knows how to just take a lot of shots. Again, the Stephen Curry effect. I mean, that's what it comes down to make those kind of threes and attempt those kind of shots from 3-point range shows that Steph Curry has had an influence, had to be. Whatever it is, these women are taking 3-point shots at a rampant rate. And I think you see that in this matchup. So, but this was a game that lived up to the hype for the first half. And Angel Reese had 20 rebounds, 17 points. Johnson had 23 points, 10 of 18 from the field. But it wasn't good enough. 3-point shooting was the difference. Iowa took 31 3-point attempts, made 13 of them, but most of those threes came from Clark. She's a transcendent superstar of the highest order. She showed that in that showdown, and the Reigns will go over that real soon. But there's a lot of tension, man, being brought upon college basketball. It's like the women's college basketball is more significant than the men's college basketball because they have personalities, they have players that transcend the game more than the men. The men, there's no like player. I mean, Zach Edey, he's a big fella, 7'4", but does he transcend the sport of college basketball? Absolutely not. When you look at the women's basketball perspective, the one that's making it happen is Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark has definitely transcended college basketball more than what men are doing in their sport. She's definitely captivated, a lot of attention to women's basketball. She's been an ambassador. She's doing her thing. She's living up to the hype. She's good as advertised. And that showdown that she had against Angel Reese, based on what took place in last year's national championship game, them gesturing to each other back and forth and all that other stuff. And LSU won the championship, but they got dethroned. This was a major, major matchup. And the ratings were very high. I think it was the highest rated women's game ever to be played. And I think that's the thing that stands out when you talk about a matchup this magnitude. The world was captivated. I watched it myself. I usually don't watch, women's basketball, but I was able to tune in. I was really intrigued by this matchup. Now I was able to tune in and watch, and I enjoyed myself. Man. I enjoyed watching the game in the first half. It was a tie game, but then Iowa took over. They was able to win 94-87 going away. It just wasn't a close game in the second half. It wasn't no doubt that Iowa was going to lose this game. It was a doubt that they was going to win. There was no doubt they was going to lose. It was without question they was going to win this game. And then you saw that if you was able to watch the game like I did, they was in control. So this game, this Monday's highly anticipated matchup was a rematch of last year's national championship game that was won by LSU, which drew a record 9.9 million viewers. So that was what it's all about. Millions watching. Angel Reese, Clark on the other side. It was just a great, great matchup to watch. So it was a great first half. It was very entertaining. But again, the second half, it was all about Caitlin Clark and what she did. She's the all-time Division I scoring leader. She hit 4 3-pointers in the third quarter. And that's the thing about the women's game is that they play 4 quarters. So they don't even play 2 halves like the men do. So it's a lot of the diversity difference between the women and the men is that the men play 2 halves, but the ladies play 4 quarters. So they play like the professionals in that sense. 94-87, very high scoring affair. So that's what you had. Again, the game was tied 45. I was very entertained by the first half, but Clark showed why she's the best women's basketball player in college basketball for as many case men and women. You know what I'm saying? She's just that kind of transcendent star. And she showed that with hitting 4 3-point shots, each deeper than the previous one. And she hit her signature logo range, made 61-52, and also is her 538th of her career, and made her the all-time leader in that category among NCAA Division I players, passing Taylor Robinson of Oklahoma. So just the ability just to make 3-point shots and make it happen, take over for her team, made the difference. So also she broke she hit a 3-pointer to start the game, breaking a tie with Diana Taurasi for most 3-pointers in women's NCAA tournament history. So she was able to do her thing with that. She was just a transcendent player, man. She just broke a lot of records in that game on Monday night. She also broke the NCAA tournament assist record of 136 that was held by Tamika Johnson of LSU. So Clark has 140 assists. She matched Courtney Moses of Purdue in 2012 and Kia Nurse of UConn in 2017 with her 9 3-point shots. So the Hawkeyes only played in the national semifinals one time previously before last season. That was in 1993. They lost to UConn in Clark's freshman year in the Sweet 16. So kudos to Iowa. Now I want to look at this matchup. Look at the ratings. See what the ratings look like this past Monday. You get the ratings. Okay, this is the most ever college basketball game ever, most watched college basketball game ever on ESPN platforms. So that gotta be include men and women. It had 12.3 million people watch because of the hype, Caitlin Clark's her transcendence of the game of college basketball, and just the rivalry between her and Angel Reese. I mean, that is something that captivated America to tune in to watch this matchup and see who's going to be the best on the court, whose team is going to win. So kind of like a Magic Bird kind of feel to it, and the viewership was definitely top notch, all time most watched. ESPN drew more than 12 million viewers for the Elite Eight matchup. So it lived up to the hype, and people tuned in. It was the most largest television audience for a women's basketball game. So you gotta go back to CBS broadcast the 1983 title game featuring USC legend Cheryl Miller that drew 11.83 million people. Last year, when LSU won the championship 102 to 85, it drew 9.9 million viewers. So, I mean, for a women's game, that's amazing. It shows you the transcendence of the sport that Caitlin Clark brought to the table. It captivated America. People wanted to see this matchup, and it lived up to the billing, and that was the narrative with that. So, that's basically it for that, as far as that's concerned. We'll talk about that. So you had Iowa in the Final Four. Now let's talk about the second game. It was UConn versus UConn played USC, and UConn, number 3 seed, beat number 1 seed USC 80 to 73. And UConn's kind of like on the radar because the team that's really doing it, LSU, South Carolina, but UConn, they not as dominant as they used to be, but they was definitely good enough to beat USC, the number 1 seed. Lucas had 28 points, 10 rebounds, 11 to 23 from the field. So they're advancing to the Final Four. That's good for them. Judy Watkins, the All-American true freshman, she had 29 points, 9 of 25 from the field, 2 of 6 from the 3-point range, 10 rebounds. And fell short, though, losing the game. So let's look at the recap. Look at this. Let's see, the Huskies, because they went to 14 straight Final Four appearances, that was snapped. So it's been a long time. It's been a while since they've been back in the Final Four. They had a stretch where they went to 14 straight Final Four appearances. That's why I'm saying when you look at South Carolina and LSU, especially South Carolina, they've been the dominant program. Make a case. No longer is Connecticut that dominant program, but they're back in the championship, the Final Four. So you got UConn and North Carolina State could play for Final Four of their own. Yeah, you got men's and women's teams into the national semifinals. Each team, each school. The first time in NCAA history that two schools have done that in the same year. North Carolina State men's team and North Carolina State women's team. You got UConn, the men's team. You know what they're about. They're definitely dominant. Now you got the women in the Final Four. So that's a incredible feat. Okay, so the Final Four is all set. It will start tomorrow night. So I'm gonna give you my predictions. So I think it's gonna win. I think it's gonna be interesting Final Four. NC State against South Carolina. This is gonna be a great matchup. Obviously, NC State 31-6 against undefeated South Carolina. So we're gonna see what happens, man. We look at this matchup. So this is gonna be a great matchup to watch. Stone Staley, obviously, this is a fourth straight Final Four as a coach and as a team. They've been dominant, winning by an average of 29.6 points a game. One of their wins was by 82 points, another by 70. So this team is focused. They won national championship in 2022. And they've been, one of the best programs in over the past decade. So they've been dominant. So that's like I said, it used to be, Connecticut. They used to be the top team, but now that's not the case. It's now South Carolina. Now South Carolina a year ago lost to Iowa in the semifinals. They may meet in the championship game. Obviously, South Carolina got to get past NC State. They had won 107 of its last 110 games. They have a 60-game home winning streak. So see what happens with this team tomorrow night. That's going to be the first game. That's going to be the first game. So 7 o'clock p.m., that's going to be the first game. Tune in to that. If you like women's college basketball, that's going to be the first game. That's rightfully so because, again, the main attraction in college basketball is the one and only Caitlin Clark. So the second game is going to be UConn versus Iowa. That's going to be at 9 o'clock. I'm going to be tuning in this game. These two games are going to be very interesting to watch, especially the second game. So tune in for that, man. If you like college basketball for as women's are concerned, this is the game you got to tune into, these two games. So we're going to see if Caitlin Clark can lead her team to the national championship game. Because this is a phenomenon of a player that Caitlin Clark has been. So she just got to finish the deal. It's been 8 years since the Huskies won the last of the program's 11 titles, though the standard remains. So it's been a long time since they won a national championship, the Huskies. So 8 years, that's 2016. So it's been a long time since they hosted that trophy. So when I look at these matchups, I gotta go with South Carolina. They're undefeated. They got a better team. They should be able to win this game. I like Iowa. I want to see Iowa play South Carolina. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is the main attraction. You want to see stars in their sport. So I like Iowa versus South Carolina. And I like, as far as national championship game, I got Iowa. I think Iowa will knock off South Carolina in the national championship game, give them their first loss. And I like Iowa to win the game. Caitlin Clark is going to go out on top. I think this is her last year. I think she's a senior. Let me see. I think she's a senior this year. I think this is the last year. So I got Iowa winning the national championship. I think Iowa will play South Carolina in the national championship game. And I got Iowa winning the national championship. That's how I see it. She's a big-time player. She's transcended. I think she's going to win it. Gotta go with her. I think she's going to win it. So that's my perspective on that. Yeah, she's a senior. This is her last season. So I think she's gonna go on top. I think she's gonna do it. I think she's gonna make it happen. So I like and when the women's game, I love Caitlin Clark and Iowa to win the national championship. That's how I see it. So let's get into the men's. The men's bracket. We got the Final Four set in their side. Connecticut, NC State, Alabama. Connecticut, NC State, Alabama, and Purdue. So that's gonna be set up. So let's rewind the games that were played this past week. The regional final start with Saturday. Now, both games to me wasn't that great. I mean, UConn definitely is a dominant team. They definitely playing on a historical level in terms of not playing any close games. Every game has been a blowout. Every game has been a dominant performance. Every game has been very dominant of the highest order. I think Connecticut 30-0 run in the second half. I mean, the game was close. It was 28-23. And all of a sudden they go on a 30 run to win 77-52. And this team is definitely dominant, man. They scored 30 straight points. I mean, that is mind-boggling to see something like that. Donovan Clingan had 22 points, 10 rebounds, 5 block shots. UConn scored the first 25 points in the second half to turn a 5-point lead to a blowout. So they're beating the opponents in the tournament by 39, 17, 30, and 25 points respectively. So this team is definitely on a mission to make it 6 in a row. I mean, 6 championships. I think that's the thing, man. That's the thing that stands out. They're so dominant. They're playing at a higher level. They're definitely the favorites going into this Final Four. They're that dominant. There's nothing else to say. This team is so great. They know how to get it done. So this Final Four is obviously going to be in Glendale, Arizona. They were playing, they will be playing Alabama in the semifinal. So Clemson beat Alabama 89-82. Excuse me, Alabama beat Clemson 89-82. So Alabama makes it to their first Final Four ever. So they'll be in the Final Four for the first time ever in their program's history. So that's gonna be interesting matchup. But I like Connecticut. Connecticut is gonna beat Alabama. I think they're gonna lose to UConn. UConn's focused. They locked in. Give credit to Mark Sears. He had 7 3-pointers. Again, the 3-point shot, Stephen Curry effect. Sears took 14 threes and made 7 of them. So you're definitely going to win. Your percentage is definitely going to be much higher. 44.4% was the percentage that was shot by Alabama for his 3-point shots. They made 16 threes. So that's the reason why they won. I mean, Stevenson came off the bench. He was 5 for 8 from 3-point range, 19 points in the process of that. That's the Stephen Curry effect, man. When you have a Stephen Curry who influenced the game for better or for worse, and that transcends the game of basketball, is influence players in other sports, in college basketball, men's and women's, respectively, get the job done for us, shooting threes. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're going to do. They're going to shoot threes, make 3-point shots. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're going to do. So I think from that perspective, it's for better or for worse. You know what I'm saying? It's not about the medium range game where guys shoot, a jump shot, medium range wise, but it's all about just shooting the threes. So Alabama won because of that, 89-82, their first ever appearance in the Final Four. Give them credit. But they will lose to Connecticut. Simple as that. The dream matchup is again between Purdue and UConn. That's the dream matchup. So let's get into Sunday's games. Tennessee and Purdue. This was a good game. This was a good game. Purdue won 72-66 for the first time since 1980. They're in the Final Four, led by the big fella Zach Edey. It's very fresh air to see, big men have dominance in this game. An era of just 3-point shooting and stuff like that. It's great to see a player of the caliber of Zach Edey to get it done. For his being a big man dominant in the paint, 13-21 from the field, 16 rebounds, 40 points. That was the difference. I mean, you only had one player that was in double digits, and that was Lawyer off in the backcourt, 14 points. Nobody scored off the bench. It was 3 for 15 from three, but they still able to win, and rightfully so. When you got a big fella in Edie, you gotta feed him and not rely so much on the 3-point shot. For Tennessee, Connect played very well. 37 points, 14 of 31, I think he was. But yeah, 14 of 31 from the field. He took 12 3-point shots, made 6 of them. He definitely brought forth the effort. But the problem is nobody outside of Connect had double figures. It was just him. So that's not good. When you look at the box score, not that much coming off the bench. 10 points was scored off the bench. Adu, I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, had 0 points. So from that perspective, that's not good. He can't do it all by himself, but valiant effort and defeat by Tennessee. They lost to Purdue. Then in the other game, NC State, for the first time since Jim Valvano, took NC State to the Final Four and they beat Houston. They beat Duke 76-64. And that big fella, man, the DJ Burns, was so dominant, man. He could not be stopped. He's 6'9", 275 pounds. Kind of remind me of Zach Randolph. If you remember Zach Randolph, he was outstanding coming out of Michigan State, played with the Memphis Grizzlies. I think he played with the Knicks. He has that kind of game. So like, Zach Randolph, big fella, strong in the paint, can post you up, score on you. Reminds me of Zach Randolph, little Zach Randolph in him. 29 points, 13 of the 19 from the field. Just dominant in the paint. Gotta give him kudos for that. Just the dominance. And DJ Horn had 20 points. Those guys combined for 49 points. And Duke, McCain had 32 points. Well, he had no that much help around him. Filipowski fouled out. 11 points, 9 rebounds. That's not going to get it done for Duke. So give credit to NC State. They're looking good right now in their first Final Four appearance since 1983. So it's been a long time coming for them. Get back to the largest stage in basketball, 1983. They truly are a Cinderella, the Wolfpack. They got 14 losses, and with the most losses ever for a Final Four team. So this is definitely an epitome of a dark horse of a team, epitome of a Cinderella team, with the amount of losses that they have going into this Final Four. They play on University of Purdue. It's coming Saturday. That's going to be a great game. But I like Purdue, man. Overall, I like Purdue. I think that's going to be the national championship game as I coming to a close this show. So I ain't going to be able to talk about anything else in sports. So it's all about the Final Four, college basketball, and that's it. So I think Purdue and University of Connecticut will play for the national championship on Monday night. And I got Connecticut, man. Until proven otherwise, yes, they got to deal with Zach Edey in Purdue in the backcourt. But the dream match was going to be Purdue versus Connecticut. I like Connecticut to cut down the nets and win the national championship for the second consecutive year since 2007 when Florida Gators did it, led by Billy Donovan, Joakim Noah, Corey Brewer, Al Horford, those guys. I think they're going to do it again. So that's it for the show. The first episode of Inside Sports with Rashad Mitchell on Elevation. 5280 Sports. I'll be back next Thursday, same time, 9 to 10. Until then, talk to you next Thursday.